Gary, congratulations on 100 games in charge. How would you reflect on your time at the club?
Um, passed quickly, passed quickly. Just over, I think it was 2 years in January, so January, February, March, so about 26 months. And in the main, it's been good. The first season was a little bit of a challenge when we came in. We were eighth. There was that slight worry that there's still a chance we were maybe going to finish bottom of the league, so there was a little bit of pressure. But we got a good response for the lads. We had 18 games that first season. I think we won 7 of them. And we just finished outside the playoffs. We decided to obviously rebuild the squad for various reasons. We just thought that group had been together for 3 seasons and had just failed to get into the playoffs. And we just thought it needed a freshness. And obviously, last season happened, which was, although we knew we were putting together a good team, we could never have imagined it was going to go just as well as it did. But we've seen a lot in the players, so much so that the majority of them were signed up by January or February last season, hoping that we're going to be in League One. And since we've came into League One, they've handled it ever so well. So all in all, I think the league games have been quite successful since we've took over. I would like to have done better in the cups, but in the majority of games we've lost in the cups have been against teams for higher leagues. Obviously, the one that's still, you always think of the negative. When we got beat with Brora last year, that still annoys me a little bit. But no, in the main, I think it's went well.
Like you say, last season was really special. It was your second trophy as a manager. How did it feel to end the club's 140-year wait for a trophy?
Yeah, listen, if it had been the first or the fifth or the sixth, it would have just felt the same for me. I think it was significant because it was the club's first, and understand that. And when you think back to that, listen, the celebrations on the last game of the season were the planned celebrations, obviously lifting the trophy, parade it in front of the fans, the night that we had after it, that was great. But the celebration we had when we won it, I think was it against Bonnerig? Can't remember who it was. It was at Bonnerig that we won. Those were just unplanned. Like that's like these are magical times. The pitch invasion, the party that we had after it, all the players and staff and families still being in the changing rooms at like 1 in the morning. Just things that you can't plan that sort of thing. So that was a really really special memory for me. But in football, and I'm very much like this, you have to move on. We won the league. That's gone. It's great. We'll be able to meet up again in 20 years' time and have a night out and to celebrate that. But for me, that was done. It was about right. What can we do this season? Um, and as I say already, the players have done really, really well. I was unsure how we would do this season, if I'm being honest. I would always got confidence in the players, but I didn't think there was an outstanding team. And when I say that, Falkirk went through the season last season, the Invincibles not getting beat. In previous seasons, teams that have came through, Queen's Park won it, and then they went through and they won it again. But they had full time. They had people like Simon Murray and people like that playing. So I didn't think there was a team like that this season. I was just, as much as I've got confidence in the group, I wanted to play everybody first, and then I would have a better idea. So after we had played everybody 9, I said to the board, look, I don't know how consistent we're going to be, but if we play our best, I'm confident that we can beat most teams in this league. And to be fair, the lads have played to a consistent level. Listen, we have still lost 9 games. It's a lot, but it's not a lot compared to all the other teams in the league. And I think I've got that bit right where if you're on it, you've got a chance of winning, and if you're off it, you're going to get beat probably. I think what the group have done well is we've never lost more than 2 games in a row. I think we've always been able to bounce back, and I think that's one of the most important factors. Whereas most of the other teams in the league have had a wee spell where they've maybe went 5 or 6 games without getting a victory. And touch wood, that hasn't happened to us so far.
How do you think you've developed personally over your time in charge?
The players might not say this, but I don't go off the rails as much now. Like at East Fife, and it was And then you get home and you think, why have I done that? And sometimes you've got angry and said something, you've went back and watched the game and thought, I've got that completely wrong. So I think I'm more calm. That definitely that. I think I analyse the games better now after the games. I think they analyse the opposition better as well. I enjoy that part of the game. I think most people know, but how we work here is me and Brown plan the training together, but Brown will take 80% of it. If it's a tactical thing, I'll go on and obviously take it. But that's how we roughly work. So I like that, because Brown does that, and I get to stand back and watch who's training well, who's not training so well. I think that works well for us as a partnership. And I also enjoy doing the analysis on the opposition. I do it all myself. With Jamie's help, obviously Jamie's been with me at every club, and Jamie is as important member of my backroom staff as the assistant manager is. The work that he does for me. Even last night I texted him something about 10 o'clock, and he done it for 10:30. I had it back by 10:30. But I enjoy watching the opposition that we're going to play and trying to see their strengths and weaknesses, and then putting that across to the players through the training sessions that Brown will have, or video stuff where they watch clips on the video. I enjoy that side of it. So I'm still learning. I said that to the players, sometimes I've not got an answer for everything. I think you're better being upfront and honest about that. Something might happen in the game and you're honest. You say to the players, listen, I've never came across that before, but this is why I've done it, blah, blah, blah. And I try and be as honest with the players as I can.
You played at such a high level of football yourself. Do you think that helps a player develop into a successful manager, kind of like you have?
No, because I think I've seen a lot of people sort of fail that have played at a higher level than me. I think the biggest thing about it is you have to want to do it. There's got to be a passion there to do it. You have to know the level that you're coming in to manage at, and you have to manage your expectations at that. So I know that some of the players that I'm training or coaching aren't going to be able to do some of the things that the players that I played with. You need to understand that and not expect that level from them. And I think I have done that quite well in my managerial career. But see, the part-time level, it's the only difference with full-time is you've got a wee bit less time with the players on the pitch, and there's maybe a little bit less media duties. Everything else that goes at a full-time manager, you still have to do the same at a part-time level. You're a part-time manager, but it's a full-time job. I've said that before in some of my interviews with you about my working week for Stenhousemuir. It's full-time hours on a part-time wage. That's the truth. It's full-time hours on a part-time wage. But you've got to know that, and you've got to embrace that, and be prepared to do that if you want to try and be successful.
You have such an incredible mentality. How did you help instill that into the players when you first came here?
So it's not one thing. I said this. I've done a previous interview just before you've done this interview, and when you go for interviews at times, people say to you, "Have you got a philosophy?" I haven't really got a philosophy. What I generally say to them is the team will be organised, fit, hard to beat. They'll work hard. So if that's a philosophy, then that's my philosophy, and I think the Stenhousemuir fans would be able to see. I would hope they'd be able to see, especially when we put our own team together. The first season it was hard because they weren't really my players. I was trying to get the best out of somebody else's group of players, and as I say, we've done okay there, but just not good enough. But when we put our players together, our group together, that's where you're sort of tested as a manager. The proof's in the pudding, really. And I said, I think a stat came out the other day. Since we've came together over the last 2 years, the players have had 30 clean sheets in 66 league games, which is fantastic, really, for a part-time group. But they deserve the credit because we give them instructions about maybe if we're going to set up a set play or against, or we might change that here and there, or we maybe play with a 3 at the back or a 4 at the back. But they've got to take that information on board. So the mentality within the group was always going to be, you're going to be organised, you're going to know what you're going to do when you're going to the pitch, you're going to be fit. I think if you can see that, we're fit. We have a specific thing with front players at the front end. You have to be able to run, you have to be able to move, you've got to have energy, you've got to have pace. I think all our front, or a high percentage of our front players at the front end of the pitch have got that. And you give them that, and then you hope the players buy into it, and the players have bought into that. You know, they're a tough team to beat. We know that we're not the best footballing team on the eye in the league, and we're all right with that. We're effective at what we do. We try and go forward quickly. We've got pace in the wings. We've got pace at the front end of the pitch, and in general, we can defend our goal. Listen, there's some games you didn't. You look last season, 4 against Dumbarton, 6 against Clyde, 4 this season against Inverness, 4 this season against Cove. Sometimes you have a blip, but then the mentality of the players in the group generally kicks in and they get back to normal. We lost 4 at Inverness. Next 2 games, the players have bounced back with 2 clean sheets. Now what we need to do is just make sure that we're not failing to score at the front end of the pitch. And we've got a lot of competition at that front end of the pitch now, and some big calls have to be made on a week-to-week basis, and that's the job of me as a job as a manager. Maybe gave myself too many choices, actually, made it hard for myself. You've got 4 wingers, you've got 2 number 10s, you've got 2 strikers. Every one of them expects to play every week. And every week 4 of them aren't going to play. Or 3 or 4 of them, depending on how we play. So that can be problematic. That's how you have to manage that as a manager. That's part of the job of being a manager. And generally it comes down to being a good communicator. You have to talk to the players and let them know you're thinking.
The fans have always backed you and the players. How important have they been for you over the course of your 100 games?
Oh, listen, I dare say there has been, but I can't remember many times where we've came off to a boo or in my time in charge. Even the other night up at Cove, Brown said to me, that he's obviously been at Stenhousemuir a lot longer than me. He says that he's not really seen a fall-on like that going to an away game 5:30 on a Saturday night so far away. And even when we came off, we go over and see the fans at the far away side and we give them a clap and appreciate that they've came up to support us. And as we're walking off, we've got some fans in the main stand and they're shouting on to us, come on, we've still got a chance, don't get your heads down and stuff like that. So definitely the club's together as a one. I can't really speak about the years that I wasn't here, but especially in the last couple of years, everybody's together, the fans are behind the players. And there's been changes at the club as well. We've got a new board. We've got a new way of working. Things are changing behind the scenes as well. So I've got different relationships. It's not different. I'm still working on my relationships with the new board. I'm not familiar with them as I was with the old board, because obviously I was with the old board longer. So I'm still trying to get that side of the managerial career here at Stenhousemuir right. And then obviously still trying to make sure that the players do the right things on the pitch. And in the main they have, they're a really good group. I said this last year when we won the league, they're the best group that I've managed. They make it quite easy for you. Sometimes you just need a reminder about certain things. But they're a good group, they all want to work hard, they come into training. And the biggest compliment I can give them is really the players that aren't playing. If you look recently, Kyle Banner, not really had much action, 20 minutes in the last 7 or 8 games. Comes in, trains his hardest every game, every day, trains his hardest. Kai's not been in the team much, but they come on the pitch and they're making an impact, or they're at training and they're making an impact. And actually, the 11 on the pitch aren't the ones that actually make you the successful group. It's the other ones that are coming off the bench or didn't even get off the bench. That's what this group's got. That they don't. There's no got sulkers. Yes, they've got people that are unhappy when they're not playing. I would want them to be unhappy when they're not playing, but they handle themselves in the right way. They'll come and chat your door, they'll ask the questions, they'll do that at the right times, they'll train hard, they'll work hard, they'll get behind the lads. If you watch, Matty Yates hasn't played a lot recently, but when we're scoring goals, he's the first one jumping up to celebrate and stuff like that. So that's important, and I notice things like that. I notice how the players that aren't in the team do the look in my eye when I wish them good luck before a game. I notice things like that, and in the main, the majority, they handle themselves really, really well because they don't earn a lot of money. They're wanting to play every week. They've got a short career, and some weeks they're not playing. And I think that's the sign of a good professional, a good teammate, how you handle yourself when you're in that situation.
You've had such an exceptional season so far. When you came in at the start of this season, did you expect that to happen?
Just really what I said earlier, I wasn't sure where we would be. I wanted to play every team once. Once I'd played every team once, I was quite confident that we'd have a good season. I thought we could be pushing towards the playoffs after we had played everybody once. I never said that. I never said that to the board or that until we had played everybody once. I wanted to just see where we were, looking on paper. The game's not played on paper. Looking on paper, looking at all the other squads, looking at our squad. I thought we could be competitive. I actually wanted to play every team once just to make sure that I was correct in that. When we had played them all once, it was that. All the teams were much about much. If you look at it now, I think the team, we've lost 9 games. I think our team's lost 8 games. It's the most competitive league that I've been involved in as a manager in terms of each team can beat each team. You generally get 1 or 2 break away. That hasn't really happened. And you generally get 1 or 2 that have detached. If you gave Inverness and Dumbarton their points back, that wouldn't have happened. You know, Inverness have done fantastic to get themselves where they are after losing 15 points. But once we had played them all once, I thought we could have a good season. I don't know exactly when, but I'd imagine we've been in around the top 4 for about half a season now. There's been a bit of consistency. So, obviously now, and it sounds really weird to say it, if we finish 5th, I think for the majority of people at Stenhousemuir it would be disappointing. If I'd offered them 5th at the start of the season, they'd have bit my hand off. I think it's just how the group keep raising the bar, raises everybody's expectations. Listen, we're not in the playoffs yet. We've got an outside chance of winning the league. It's not trying to put pressure on Arbroath, it's in Arbroath's hands. You know, they've still got us and Cove to play and they've got a 5-point advantage. They win the 2 games, you know, they've got to be the league champions. So we've still got work to do. We want to try and push them as long as we can. We also want to try and make sure that we're into the playoffs as early as we can be as well. We've got 4 games left at home, which is good because our home form over the last couple of years has been really good, and we're going to need that to continue. And we just have to go on and attack every game now. You know, it may be that if it's 1-1 on Saturday, for example, we gamble more than we maybe would if the game was the 7th or 8th game of the season. We maybe think, you know what, we're going to need to take a risk here. 3 points is more important than 1. So we may start coming down to that for the remaining games. You know, we may need to know the scores of the other teams in the coming games to see, is a point a good result for us, or do we need to gamble for 3? And we're prepared to do that. And we'll change this formation depending on what we think's right. If we think it's right to go with, for example, Matty and Corey up front, or 2 target men, we'll do that. If we think it's right to go with 3 at the back, we'll do that. Because what we've seen this season is the players can play in numerous formations and numerous positions. Each player can play in numerous positions. And we'll just go and try and get as many points as we can in the last 6 games and see where we can get. And then if we make the playoffs, then we've already shown against the teams that are probably going to be in the playoffs that we're capable of beating them. So I think we've got a really exciting last 6 league games, and then it may be a few games more after that. We've got a really exciting last 6 games. What we don't want to be is for us to drop off now. For 30 games, we've been fairly consistent. It's up to me and Brown, the rest of the coaching staff, to make sure the players remain consistent for the next 6 games. Try and pick up the majority of the points that we can, and then just see where we are.
Thank you, Gary, and congratulations on 100 games in
Thank you. Cheers.